Georgia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Darfur and Zimbabwe. You know, sometimes it's good to stand back from the crises that dominate the news and think about how the world is changing and how that will affect us all. Well, that's what Oxfam's new report for a Safer Tomorrow is trying to do. I'm Ed Cairns, the report's author, and we're recording this in September 2008. On the 4th of November 2008, we'll know whether Barack Obama or John McCain will lead the United States for the next 4 years, and that really matters, including for the civilians caught in conflicts around the world. But let's stand back a bit more. The fundamental political change, which is creating our 21st century world and which will affect every humanitarian crisis, is something else. That's the rise of China, of Russia, of India and others to become major world powers. And that change in power in the world matters as well, because it's the abuse of power that drives millions of civilians to death and rape and displacement in the 31 armed conflicts around the world. They are the civilians that lose livelihoods and families, almost everything, because of the deliberate or collateral violence around the world. Like the 1,500 people a day who die in the Democratic Republic of Congo in its shamefully forgotten conflict. And in the future, well, in the decades ahead, climate change may increase the risk of conflict for up to 3 billion people. And just in the next 5 years, any of the poorest countries in the world has a 1 in 6 chance of falling into civil war. And right now, the proliferation of arms is dangerously out of control. But there is good news as well, because change creates choice. The new US president can choose to do a good job at protecting civilians, to ensure that never again means something in Darfur and other crises. And make no mistake, the new powers like China, India, South Africa, Russia and Brazil and others, they face a choice as well. They can pursue their interests with little thought of the rights of others, or instead they can decide that their long-term interests depend on building a rule-based world in which international law and the rights of all are upheld. You know, some people say there's little that can be done to protect civilians from these kind of atrocities, but that's wrong. At the beginning of this year, in January 2008, the post-election violence in Kenya threatened to go out of control. Some people said to create another Rwanda. Well, that hasn't happened, because at every level in Kenya, from local people to civil society to the President and Prime Minister, they chose peace over conflict. Oxfam's new report for a Safer Tomorrow sets out many, many other examples where civilians have been protected when there is the political will. And political will isn't everything, but it is the main thing. It's a political will to hold war criminals to account against one standard, not the double standards we often see in the world. For a Safer Tomorrow sets out an ambitious agenda to do that around the world, combining local, national, regional and international action. It's Oxfam's contribution to a vital debate, because the world is changing, but whether it's changing for the better or worse is not inevitable. It is a choice.